But Brandon, let's move on into our final topic. And what we are looking at today is a topic that ever since Friday, I'm assuming that you guys, Brandon, myself, even Dave from the Fast Break have been anticipating what we were going to talk about when it came to the FBI probe for college basketball, where there's tons of like guys in the NBA like Dennis Smith, Isaiah Whitehead, guys in the NCAA like Miles Bridges has been named, DeAndre Ayton has been named, where these players, agents have been paid money to make sure, like for example with DeAndre Ayton and Sean Miller in Arizona, that Sean Miller paid an agent $100,000 to make sure DeAndre Ayton signs with the Arizona Wildcats. And this has already kind of broke and affected college basketball already because people are talking about it negatively. Sean Miller wasn't coaching the Arizona-Oregon game. And also we've already seen in the recruiting field as Shaq's son had already decommitted from Arizona, I believe. So here's what I want to ask you, Brandon, just very open-ended with this. With the FBI probe, the Sean Miller, DeAndre Ayton, we've got other players named, other coaches and schools involved in this. Very simple. How is this FBI probe going to affect college basketball in the long run?
Well, quite honestly, is what I hope it does is that I hope it gets, this is a final wake-up call to coaches and programs to do things the right way, to do things, I guess, ethically, because if you continue to do things the way that many places are doing them, it's not just Sean Miller at Arizona. It's, you can, throw out a school. You can guarantee that they're doing the exact same thing, just haven't been caught. And it's been like that forever. Forever. That is sports and life. There are going to be people who are trying to get ahead, and to get ahead, they will do things that they're not necessarily supposed to do. But what I hope it does is I hope that it weeds that out and gets us all back onto a more level playing field. And what I think is interesting from that, and that people have also brought up, is that does this start to help do away with that whole one and done in college basketball, and we move almost completely away from that? And if we do, then how does that affect the very big one and done schools of Duke, of Kentucky, of, insert name of school that has a lot of one and done players going there. Those are some of the big ones right there, but a lot of schools
Kentucky,
will have them. It's not just them for sure, but do we fully now move away from that because we have to get, the guy's not just coming here for the 1 year. Well, he's going to be here for a little bit, and it's not going to be as, I don't want to say as competitive to get him, but as competitive to get him. Well,
and here's the thing. I'm looking at ESPN. They've got a whole list of schools. So potential impermissible benefits and preferential treatment for players and families: Alabama, Duke, Kentucky, LSU, Maryland, Michigan State, NC State, North Carolina, Seton Hall, Texas, Southern Cal, Washington. Schools named with the former ASM sports employee Chris Dawkins' expense report: Clemson, Kansas, Louisville, Michigan State, South Carolina, Texas, Southern Cal, Utah, Wichita State, Xavier. Schools that had players and families listed to meet with Dawkins: Alabama, Creighton, Duke, Iowa State, Kentucky, North Carolina, Notre Dame, Texas, Vanderbilt, Virginia. Active players that have been in this: Alabama, Colin Sexton, Duke, Wendell Carter, Kentucky, Kevin Knox, Michigan State, Miles Bridges, South Carolina, Brian Bowen, Texas, Eric Davis Jr., USC, Benny Boatwright. And like I said, former players as well. Dennis Smith, Isaiah Whitehead have been linked to this as well. That's the number one thing, though, what you mentioned that I think this means is because of this, and we talked about this on the Fast Break with the NBA side of it, the one and done to me is done. this is the beginning of the death of the one and done, where I assume the NBA will come out either this offseason or soon and say, we're done, you can come out of high school. Because their whole thing is they want to make the G League a thing, and Adam Silver basically wants to say, yeah, I'm distancing myself away from college. I don't want, like Dave brought up during the fast break numerous times, NCAA and NBA not associated. I get that. But the whole agreement, whether it's not spoken, is they go to you for a year, they come to us. Most cases, they go to you for a year, they come to us. That won't have to happen. So my first thought is, how does that affect college basketball? It's not going to kill college basketball, but those one-and-done talents that we have seen, the Jabari Parkers, the Jahlil Okafors, the DeAndre Aytons, they're not coming to college.
Yeah, they're bypassing it.
Take them away, they're gone. We're going to get guys that want to be here. However, if you compare, like, it's still going to be competitive because you're still going to get guys that want to be in college, but you're not going to get those athletes that we would seen in the one-and-done era. We're going to get guys that, you know, I'm going to college, I stay for 1, 2, like, it's going to be a mixture of guys who I'm going to college for a degree and a mixture of guys where, hey, you know what? I'm not a one-and-done. I'm a 2, 3-and-done guy. I'm going to go to college rather than the G League and the NBA.
Well, I want to bring this up very briefly because I know we're college, but how big of an impact would that then have on high school?
It would.
And would are they then does the problems that the NCAA is currently facing
it changes recruiting.
Does that completely now shift down and trickle down into high school?
It does.
Let's be honest about it. It's happening everywhere.
No, it does.
So now is it going to put a bigger spotlight on high school coaches, players, and recruiting styles and how they do things because they know these players. They are talking as much with the coaches, and I'm sure maybe not as much with help me with the word, with agents.
Yeah.
But probably not as much as college coaches are. But I'm sure they're going to be playing some role in there of where they could go and where that agent might want them to go, where they might have a better chance of getting a better deal NBA-wise, which gives the agent money, cha-ching.
And that's what I was going to say.
That's really interesting.
Getting rid of the one and done changes the recruiting field for college basketball. Completely flips it on its head and changes everything because all those rules that you had, like the whole agent thing, for example, just to microcosm one. If I'm, let's say, Zion Williamson, because he's right now, first off, if let's say the NBA this offseason or during the playoffs said, we're getting rid of the one and done rule after this draft class. Next draft class, you can be one and done. Like Zion Williamson might be like, well, not exactly him because he'd already have to, like the draft would have passed and he'd have to wait the year anyways. But guys in high school would be like, why do I want, like the ones that are good enough to go, why would I want to go to college? Like, and then college go, well, you can't deal with an agent. Well, bye, I'm not dealing with you. I'm dealing with the G League. I'm dealing with the NBA. So I'm going to talk to this agent who's going to be my guy and he's going to make sure I get the best money in the NBA. It's going to change recruiting for that. It's going to change recruiting also because now guys like these coaches and these college scouts are going to be in high school gyms along with NBA guys. And I wonder if college schools then, if the one and done rule goes away because of this, if the guys that are on the Anthony Davis level, the DeAndre Ayton level, the like I'm a top 10 pick level, the Lonzo Ball level, if college coaches eventually go, we're not even going to waste our time on him because he's going to the, like he wants to go to the NBA, I'm not going to waste my time on him. It's a Cardell Jones situation. We ain't here to play school. We're not going to, like, it, for coaches, it then becomes, all right, who am I targeting? I got to figure out the kids that want to come to college, don't want to go to the G League, don't want to play in whatever pro situation. Because basketball, they got to figure that out too. What are they going to do with the G League? Are they still going to have a one and done thing? Can you come in right from high school? It's going to be interesting to how it changes recruiting. And coaches are going to have to adapt to it quickly Because if the one and done rule goes away, it's going to be like, oh, right, everything changes. And if you don't adapt quickly, guys could be falling out of your commits, and you got to find guys to fill that squad for your college basketball team.
So now let me bring up something that's a little bit interesting. It's a little bit on the other side of the coin. So in college basketball, it is not allowed and wrong and unethical to pay a player for his talents, or to pay a player more for his talents, and to try and pay a player more to come to your school. And as I saw this very well written on SI.com, take out sports, take out athlete, insert singer, insert this career, insert that career, and guess what? You are paying more for them to come because they're good and you want them to work for you. That's what you do in the real world. You will overpay to get the best person. And how about this? Going back to sports. Florida State turned Texas A&M football coach Jimbo Fisher was given a huge lucrative deal to come and coach for Texas A&M. They overpaid, I'm sure, to get Jimbo Fisher to come to Texas A&M, where then he can recruit guys to come in and play for him and make him look good with his nice millions of dollars salary, as the players get nothing. And Brandon, now I stand kind of in the middle on both sides, because I see things over here that, okay, here's really good reasoning why we don't pay them. And then over here, here's really good reasoning why we should pay them. But it's just, if we did, we wouldn't have to worry about this.
I am, like how you said, you're in the middle with this. I'm on the other side. Pay them. Find out a way to pay them. For example, I think back to both when you and I were in college, and both you and I held a similar position in college, where we were at the radio station on the same level of pay, where my pay was, I got $1,000 a semester. Divide that by 16, like, let's say 16 weeks is, let's see, $1,000. I'm going to divide that by 16 weeks. That's about $62.50 a week. However, you're not getting paid every single week. So divide that by 2. You're getting about $31 every 2 weeks, or how it worked out. I think I was getting more. I think I was getting more towards the 62.5. It was a good amount to where I'm like, okay, at the very least, I could take this money and I could buy food. I could buy food with this money. Like, I think there is no reason why we can't figure out some way to pay these players. Does not have to be NBA level money. Doesn't need to be these big contracts. It just could be enough to just live. Because the one thing that I hate about the college thing is football, basketball, you tear an ACL in, let's say you tear an ACL or you do something career-ending injury. Great, I'm not getting that money. I'm not getting that NBA money now. What am I going to do? What am I going to do with my life? The other thing that complicates this is we just think of football and basketball. If you pay football, you got to play basketball. If you pay basketball, you got to pay women's basketball. If you pay women's basketball, you got to pay the baseball and softball teams.
And lacrosse and swimming and diving. All of them. And, every single thing.
That's why for me, I'm not torn, but I'm not the best person, because I'm on the side of, yes, pay them, but that's above my pay grade to figure out the details. I don't know how that works. The thing I find funny, though, about this is looking at the NBA, 2 guys that were just in college a year ago that both play for the Lakers. I found it funny how opposite they are on this whole FBI thing. Kyle Kuzma, who has been linked to this FBI probe with Utah, when he was asked about if college players should be paid, he said, his exact quote was, "I don't think it is the right time to really say too much about that, or about that with all the stuff going on. They asked then the same question to Lonzo Ball, who, let's be honest, didn't have to worry about money, had dad. He had the big baller, like he had the Ball family, didn't have to worry about an agent paying for him to go there. The Balls were going to UCLA. It was written, the prophecy was written, he was going to UCLA. They asked him the question. Did you hear what he said?
No, I didn't catch it.
Everybody knows everyone's getting paid. That's just how it is. Everybody getting paid anyways. You might as well make it legal. I love that. I love it. One guy over here who is linked to it, I don't think it's the right time to talk about this right now. The other guy, hey, you know you're getting paid, right? Why not pay everybody? Why not just pay everybody? And he's right. Why not just pay them? Even if it's something. I mean, I can fathom that they could get something to work where everybody gets something, even if it's like, okay, if you play this sport, you might get a little bit extra, or if it's a tiered system. We know every single sport's not going to get the same thing, but I'm assuming we can get something that works out for the system that college athletes can get paid.
Well, but see, here's the issue then, is that could then quite simply turn into a Title IX issue. Because if you're paying, if you're paying football this much, but you're only paying women swimming and diving that much, oh boy, you best believe, especially in today's culture, that someone's stepping in and that is not gonna go well. Okay, so I mean, there's issue number one. So when you say, well, you know, they may not all get paid the same, well, they darn well better, because they're gonna have to. Otherwise, you have a bigger issue on your hands, and the NCAA has a bigger issue that they do not want. Now, hold it. Is that I did a project in college where I asked this exact question for one of my classes. This is what I was very curious about, and I wanted to do I did a little documentary on it. And I spoke with our athletic director at the university. I spoke with our football coach. I spoke with a softball player. I spoke with a basketball player, a baseball player, another basketball player. And it was a mixed array of things.
It is.
And it was really interesting, the responses that you got.
And I want to interject for 2 seconds.
Sure, you got 2 seconds. Go.
The thing that's different also is that both you and I went to a smaller college. If you do it at the big level, how does that affect the smaller guys that aren't getting that ESPN money, that broadcast money that a D1 school's getting?
Well, it's funny. So we called the basketball game for the school where we went to college, and I'm talking with our athletic director, who we have a good relationship with, and we're talking about exactly this,
paying college athletes,
and Sean Miller, what happened, and then we got into the paying college athletes, and he was talking about his time when he was at UIC, and you know, he was talking with a family and about a player to come there and everything like that, and he said that the dad came up to him and said, well, what are you gonna give me if so and so comes here? And he goes, nothing. We're not Notre Dame, we're not Duke. I can't give you anything. You're not gonna get that here from us at UIC. If you want something, if you want the steak dinners every Tuesday, you're gonna have to go to North Carolina or Notre Dame for that. We can't give that to you here. So that's a really good point to bring up, because that's going to be then expected from families and from players all around. If you're paying college athletes and stuff like that, they want to be able to get the nice car that Joe Blow over here is getting because he plays at USC. Just because you said his name. You're not going to get that. Your USC up here is not getting the same thing that Crumbs is getting over here. You're certainly not. And then that's disparaging in and of itself, because of the fact that it's not equal at all. At all. I mean, let alone equal between men's sports and women's sports, just school to school. It's really interesting. It's really difficult, and there is no easy answer. as many people want to make it an easy answer. And trust me, I wish we could.
Well, because it's like, where are you going to get the money from?
But
it's got to come from somewhere.
Well, my gosh, let's just dip into the $100 million we made from advertising this year.
I know.
You know. But see, here's the whole thing.
Will that be enough to pay all the sports?
Here's the whole thing. Here's the thing. Exactly. That's a great point to say. But here's the reason why I do get a little upset about it, especially when you're looking at NCAA. I mean, NCAA is completely different, obviously, than if you're talking an NAIA or anything like that. But NCAA, you as an advertiser, a coach, a program, you are making millions and millions and millions of dollars off of kids. Off of kids in college.
Off of kids that we call adults because they're over 18, but they don't feel like adults because they're not getting paid.
I mean, that's why I stand in the middle, because I'm not fully on one side. And I know people hate those people who just sit on the fence, but I have a leg over on both sides. I haven't jumped yet, but it's because it's frustrating when you know that. You asked the question, where would we get the money from? I gave you at least one answer. Some of that advertising money.
Let's use the example that you used, D1 to NAIA. NAIA school isn't going to have that kind of funds that they're getting because ESPN's not coming to broadcast on College Game Day every Saturday or whatnot. They don't have those deals. And another thing that makes it difficult, especially at football and basketball, college basketball, what we're talking about right now, is the whole thing about going pro. Kids aren't coming to college. Like, you're not going to get the Andrew Lucks, where I remember it was a big deal with Andrew Luck that, yeah, I'm going pro, but I'm finishing my degree. Not everyone does that, especially one and dones. I'm here to play basketball. Cardell Jones, we ain't here to play school. You get that. This is a means to get to the pros, whether it's football or basketball. And the thing that I look at too is that's another reason to it. Where, like, for me, my major was music education. And for somebody who's in a music department, it's not like I'm going to play clarinet in the band and I'm going to do that to go then to the Chicago Symphony Orchestra and I'm one and done and then going to the orchestra. No, that's not how
What
it
do
works.
you mean you weren't?
How it looked for me is, hey, I'm getting this music scholarship. That is my pay. That is what they are paying me to do my service. It just goes towards tuition. College athletes, you can't really you can't make that, because if they're really going for their degree, yes, you can look at it that way. Okay, my athletic scholarship is my pay. But once you add in the factor of going pro and the one and done with college basketball, most of them are, I'm only here as a means to get to the NBA. School doesn't matter, so your scholarship to me doesn't really matter. And how many of those guys get full rides? That would be another thing that'd be interesting, because then the university is basically giving them money to play for them so that they don't have to pay to go to the school, which then hurts. And it's like, great, that's more revenue that we can't get to then use to maybe pay the athletes if we wanted to.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, kind of with what you were saying, that what I'm going to bring up here was there was an article written at our school newspaper when we were still in school, or at least when I was still in school. And it talked about basically NARPs. It was an article about NARPs, which, for those who do not know, a non-athletic regular person. And obviously, so people who do not play any sports. And there were a lot of athletes really ticked off by it. I mean, that was probably the most read article by anybody at the university. And basically what she was saying is that athletes get these perks. They get, special treatment. They get this, they get that. But I think that people forget that athletes, they don't have a lot of time to themselves. They are hooked in to their sport. They have practice at all different times every day. Sometimes they have 2 practices a day.
It's like a full-time job on top of school for some of
exactly.
them. If you're at like an NAIA school, I've got this all day. I'm traveling, and I'll say, for example, not to cut you off, but like some of the athletes we saw this year with the season we called, oh yeah, it does all this, 4.0 GPA, 3.5 GPA, Dean's List. So it's like you've kind of got two full-time jobs on top of each other in most cases.
Oh yeah, I mean, in players all the time, you know, doing homework on the bus, traveling, you know, whatever, you know, in the hotel room, whatever it is, you don't have during your season, and honestly, even for good parts of your off season, you don't have time to yourself. You do not have time to yourself, or as much time as you would like. You're on a regimented schedule. You're going to class, you're going to practice, you're going to class, you're going to the game, you're doing all that stuff. I'm not trying to say, oh my gosh, athletes have it so hard, we should feel bad for them, but we should understand where they're at.
It takes a certain kind of character.
It does. And are you know, do they, I don't want to say, do they receive some sort of special treatment? I don't want to say that that's true. You know, are they, because special treatment, oh, they get out of their class to be able to go play their game, but yet they still have to turn in the assignment, or they have to take the test at a later date. Yeah, it's really special treatment. I don't think so.
Without the help of the lecture, though, either.
Well,
Let's say they missed that lecture. It's like, how many times have you missed a lecture for being sick? And it's like, fuck, I don't know what to, like, what do they want from me? Hey, so-and-so, what do they want from us? Like, I've had that experience where it's like, great, most of the time it was, fuck, I should have just went to that lecture, man. I didn't have to sleep in. Now I don't know what the hell to do. I'm just going to do something.
I still remember, though, the season when we traveled with the team for their national tournament.
Way back 2012.
Way back 2012, and it wasn't during spring break, so we had to take the week off. And I talked to my professors. I'm obviously not the athlete. I'm just traveling with the team to call the games and stuff like that. They still were good with it. They still supported it. Is that special treatment? No. It's understanding that your student, this is what they want to go and do. You're going to support them in it. Just like a professor would be, hopefully, because there's some out there that don't, and screw them, but that there's professors who see that and they go, of course, I have nothing wrong with that. That's what you're here to do. Yes, you're an academics first, but you're an athlete. Well, we have, if you're a professor, if I'm a professor, we as professors then have to understand and work around that, especially if you're a good student and you're not like just, you know, blowing off class and stuff like that. That's another thing. So I don't call it special treatment. I call it people working with people, you know, and professors working with students and stuff like that. And they wanted to try and say that the athletes, part of the article was athletes, they get preferred registration and stuff like that right at the beginning. Yeah, because they need to know their classes so they can work around their practice times. It's like, let me tell you, I got an answer for you probably on about every single one of those things that this person wrote in their article back in the day. But I think it brings up good points. She brought up points that I don't necessarily think were accurate, but she brought up good points so that we could say, wow, athletes really don't have it as easy as everyone thinks. Oh, they're an athlete. They just get everything. They get all these meals paid for and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, they should.
Well, and one of the things for me just behind of that, of like you said, well, of course they got to pick out their schedule. Another thing you got to look at across all levels of college, like a national signing day, for example, where working in an admission office for college, there have been times where, let's say signing day was Wednesday. Well, that Friday before, coach emails you, hey, what about this student? Coach, like, he's going to committee. His application has to get reviewed, and we just met. He's not, like, committee doesn't meet until next Friday, let's say. But could we really get him reviewed? Like, we've got signing day on Wednesday. All right, coach, let's see what we can do. Most times than not, hey, executive director, can you look at this? Looks it over, yes or no, so that they can have that decision. Because like that I don't see as always like, oh, he's getting special treatment. It's, hey, I've got this rule set by college football that I got to make my decision by this day, and my application can't wait. Like, I can't wait to know after signing day. I got to know before so that I can make that decision. Or like we've had coaches sometimes go, well, this kid's coming up from out of town. can we get this reviewed now? So, like, if he's denied, I'm not going to make him make the 3-hour trip to come see the school. So, I mean, there's some things like that. And, of course, we could go on for days about this. I want to bring it back to what we're doing. Final question, just kind of to end it all. At the end of the day, what do you think the FBI probe is going to mean for college basketball? How's it going to affect college basketball in the end? Make your prediction.
Well, I think that we're going to be seeing. We're not going. I don't want to say that we're not going to be seeing the top level talent because I think that we're still going to see a lot of really talented athletes. I mean, I think we see a lot of really talented athletes that aren't one and done players. So I think that's that's simply said. But when you're talking cream of the crop guys that we have, when you look at the top 5 potential draft picks. And multiple of them are one and done players, I don't think that we will be seeing as many of those moving forward thanks to this FBI probe. But is it something that probably needed to happen to give somebody or multiple parties a wake-up call? Yes, I do believe so.
I am fine with getting rid of the one and done. I think the one and done is dead. I think this, if I'm putting my money on it, this will be the last draft class of the one and done. I think the NBA is going to get rid of it. They're going to revamp their G League. It'll compete with college basketball. And the NCAA will have to either put up or shut up, where it's like, we're now fighting for the same talent pool. And the only guys that we're going to get out of like the top 10, let's say, are if you've got a guy like Miles Bridges. It's like, no, I want to go to college. I want to win for this coach because I've built a bond with him.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're getting one of those. I think that the talent will dip a little bit. It's not going to be a huge dip, but it's going to dip a little bit because I think for sure if you're a top 10 projected pick, you're going to go play in the G League or play somewhere else, an alternative that's not college if you're maybe a lottery pick or even top 10.
And I just want to say, again, I don't think that this destroys college basketball in any way,
won't.
Like as, what's his name, Mark Emmert, the head of
NCAA.
And NCAA kind of said, oh, this could, be destroying college basketball here in America. Yeah,
it could destroy what we're used to right now.
Yeah, I don't
but it
think
won't
that
kill
it's
it.
going to be, destroying college basketball in America. I think it's going to be forcing coaches and people to change the way that they're doing things and adapt to change. It's something that happens all the time. And do we need to change? Yeah, we do.
We're afraid of it. Most people are afraid of change.
Many people are afraid of change, especially if the change means that you're not going to be getting as top of talent as you always have been. So that's the type of change that coaches for sure will be afraid of.
Well, and this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down in the comment section. I want to thank you guys. If you're listening on YouTube, this is the only segment you listen to. Thank you for checking it out. If you listen to the whole thing on YouTube, listen to the whole podcast on podcast services around the world. Thank you guys as well. A little housekeeping here at the end. You like what you heard, like what you saw, want to help support MVP, go check out patreon.com/MostValuedPodcast. Every bit counts in order for us to do what we love doing for you guys each and every day. Number 2, you want to get yourself some MVP merch, get an MVP t-shirt. That store link is in the description as well. Make sure to check out patreon.com, or not Patreon, mostvaluedpodcast.com/mostvaluedpodcast. You can check out patreon.com. I'll pitch it again.
Sure.
Mostvaluedpodcast.com. That's where everything for MVP goes each and every day. And last but not least, make sure to give the Primetime Podcast a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. I want to thank you guys for watching. I want to thank you guys for listening. And as always, have a good day, everybody.